Alright, so today I'm going to teach you how to use the animation system, at least the basic levels of animation system, which is not that difficult to get used to. I mean, it has a couple of new commands which are not the most straightforward, but you'll understand how it will work once you start practicing with it. So the first thing I want to do is basically animate this roof tiles. I think it's the only thing that makes sense to animate because tables are not normally moving around, but roof tiles can fall, and especially these ones that are kind of in a position that goes, yeah, well, there's nothing holding them, so might as well try to make them fall. So I want this particular roof tile to start the following process. So I'll add here armature. This is called armature. This is basically a virtual bone that the object will follow. I can place it anywhere basically, and it will still work on the object that I'll parent it to. But because I want to be very precise on how it moves, so for example, if I place it here and I rotate it, this will exponentially rotate it from here to there, so there's this entire round area, because it follows this as the center. But if you place it here and I rotate it, it will rotate the object itself. So as I want direct contact with the object, that's what I'll do. And if you don't want to see it, I mean, in the recorded animation, it will not show the bone. The bone is always invisible. But if you don't want to see it yourself, you can always click here and you won't see it during the animation. But as I said, automatically the bone will not be visible in the animation itself. Okay, so remember, add object armature in object mode. So that's remember this thing, object mode is very important. So place it on top here, and once you're on top, I want you to deselect this and select that the tile first, and then select the armature. So once that is done, you go in object here, parent with automatic weights. So parent with automatic weights is very important, because it doesn't require you to play with the physical weights of the object. So you could shade it and make it, this is more advanced. This is actually automatic. It will weigh 100 and it will move 100. So press on it. Remember, this one, the object itself needs to be orange, a dark orange, and the armature needs to be light orange for this to work. So now, if you select, for example, the armature and move it around, the object is attached to it, it will move with the armature. What we need to do now is go up here and select pose mode. Pose mode is a new mode, we haven't used it until now. But it's very simple. Basically, if I modify this pose, it will modify the pose of the object. So, as you can see here, this part has changed. This one has become a kind of a number pad. And what it says here is there are 250 frames, so 250 pictures that the object will take when you make an animation. So once you want to make an animation here, you go, you put the limit amount of frames that you want. For example, I want a very short animation for this one, so 20 frames, that's the maximum I want. So keep it on 1, go here on the output properties, remember this one, and go here and click on here and make it 20. So once it's 20, you see that here has become smaller. It means that basically when you animate, it will only do it for 20 nanoseconds. Alright, so let's start the animation itself. You go here on your main screen while being on pose mode, and you press I. When you press I, you'll get this selection. And the one I want you to do is, because location is where it is, rotation is where it's rotated, and scale is the size it is. I want all of them to be the same all the time, so I'm going to click rotation, and scale. As you might see here, it created a yellow dot. That is a frame. So there's a picture that the object is going to be there. To make it move then, I'll move here, alright? And once I move here, I want the object at the middle, because this is the middle position, to have done a particular movement. So I want it to have dropped here and flipped a little bit. Alright? And here again, I'll press location, rotation, scale. At the end of it, I want it to be on the floor. It rotated. Ooh, sorry, that was too much. Rotated like that. And touching the floor. Alright? So again here, I'll press I, location, sorry. I, location, rotation, scale. Okay? And once this is done, very simple, go back to your initial position, which is this, by clicking on the target here, and click somewhere else, remove the visibility of the armor, and press play. See? Animation very simply done. The tile is falling. Alright? Now, what if I want the other tiles to fall all together? Or in a sequence? So, when this goes to 20, I'll add, I'm going object mode now, select here, add mesh, armature, sorry, I'll add an armature, place it here, do the same thing, object, parent, with automatic weights, right? So we have another one controlled by armature, and I've placed it here because it's going to start later. When this falls, this other one falls. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go into pose mode, location, rotation, scale, to fall in a different speed. Location, rotation, scale, and then have another animation. Right, so here, oh sorry, you need to do it when it's at 40. So rotation, rotation, scale. Okay, so rotation, rotation, scale, and then here we were before, where we put it 20, we're going to change it to 40. Right? So now this is going to start the entire animation from 0. So let's put it back to normal. Let's go here. Remove the visibility of the animation if you don't want to see it. And play. There you go. And now you can continue with all the tiles as you wish. It's going to continue doing it forever, but the recording that you make using render will only record this 40 nanoseconds. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is show you how to do the recording itself, but before then I'm gonna show you how to use the camera as an actual physical camera. So I want you to go to object mode and select your camera. Alright, just select it. And once you have it, bring it near so it is at the position, let's see, view, viewpoint, camera, and just make sure that the camera is visualizing that object. All right. So that object has to be within your camera range. Now, another thing we need is here where the camera starts is to add a curve, Bezier curve. So placed it there. So Bezier curve is here. Add curve Bezier. Right? And you'll see why. I want to make an animated camera, so something that actually follows the object. So what I'm going to do is rotate it a bit, place it in the right place, and then and then I'm going to select it and resize it. Right? I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Okay, so make it large. And then I'm going to go in edit mode. And you see that this curve has different dots that you can move, different angles. So I'm going to start it exactly where the camera starts because that's what I want. The camera is not going to be fixed to it, so it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Just make sure that it's more or less where the camera would be pointing. Alright? So that one's there. Then take the other one. Do like that. Curve it a bit maybe. Pull it around. That. And put it up. Alright? It can be in any random position. I mean, I'm doing it just because I want the camera to do a particular thing that I like. But you can place this curve however you want. Now, once you're here, you go back to object mode. And you take the camera and you go into something that we haven't used until now, which is object constraints. Oh, first of all, you have to do Alt-G when you have the camera, because it places it back to the origin point. Otherwise, it's going to be randomly positioned when you position it on the curve. Instead, if it's on the origin point, it actually knows where it needs to go. So, add object constraint, and the one you want to use is the follow path constraint, which is here. So, click on this. And then you go target Bezier curve. Right? Once you have it, you'll see that the camera has been attached to the Bezier curve. But the camera is not actually pointing at the object you're looking at. So, first of all, yeah, you need to follow the curve. So make sure that you click on the follow curve. So whenever it's following something, it's going to be throughout the curve. The other thing you need to do is add another thing, which is object constraint. So it was changed to a different name, which is called track to. So you track to a particular object. So you want to track to this. All right. So here, track to, and you'll get this. And then you select the cube or this, and you get a direct tracking on the object you're looking at. So now, if you're animating it, the camera should follow the curve. So as you can see, everything is animated, but the camera is not actually moving. So how do we do this? How do we animate the camera itself? So what you need to do is press on this, animate path. Once you animated the path and you press play, the camera is going to follow the path that you've given up to the point where it is designed. So if we want to follow it only during the time that these objects are following, this is going to happen. The camera is going to follow this. But it's still not recording, so what should we do? You press on one, you press on this button, which is auto key. So it will record now every single one of them. So when you press play, it will automatically create keys for it. Okay? So now, once it's created all the keys, let's render it. Render animation. And as you can see, it is showing exactly in the middle the entire animation. Then image, done, all this is saved. Alright? And that's it. You have an animation and a camera following it, and now you can play around with creating your own cool animations. The only thing you need is animate the objects that you create and use the camera to follow the objects. The camera can be easily used as an object itself, so you can animate it like the object, or you can do paths like I did, so that you have a fly-through camera system. Right? I hope that was useful, and I'll see you next time with more insights on how to use Blender.